Good morning, YouTube. Out here in the solar shed this morning, and one thing I'm looking at is this jumpstart pack. I have it on this shelf here. This is one of the shelf units that you can order with the shed. This is a Suncast shed, so these shelves are designed to mount in the corners. I think they call them their corner shelf kits, and they have these little brackets that slip into slots in the wall panels. So there's like one over there, and then there's one there, and normally there would be one about right here, but there's a door here, and I could shove the bracket in right here, but there's this post for the door. So these shelves aren't really meant to be used on this end of the shed. They're meant to be used on the back end where there's no door. What I did was I cut these off, and just to maximize the storage area in here, so I kind of made two extra shelves. I've got one here and one a little bit below. It's supported back there, but it's not really supported out here. And I'm located in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we get earthquakes from time to time, and things like this start shaking in an earthquake and fall off. This would be a rather handy thing to have if there was an earthquake and we were out of power for a couple of days. I could have a light, I could have USB charging, I could charge batteries, things like that. I could permanently attach this someplace, but I want this thing to be grab and go. I just want to be able to pull this lighter plug out that's charging it and take this thing with me. What I started looking at is, maybe we can zoom in up here, but this up here is the kind of the support beam for the front, and there's one of these at the back of the shed. And I was looking at this, and it's got this opening back here, and then there's this lip up on the top. And so I took some measurements and I designed this part in Autodesk Fusion 360. And what it has is it has a long leg that fits back into that recess, and then it's got a little slot here to capture that lip. It's about 15 millimeters that it sits back there. And then what I plan on doing is drilling a hole up through here and putting a screw up here and clamp that together to support that. And then I can hang the handle of this jumpstart pack. So this was my first prototype, and I got the length and the slot the right size, but one thing I forgot to take into account was the roof pitch here. And if you put this way back here, I can't get the jumpstart handle up and over. What I want to do is I'll print a wide one to fit here, and then I'll print a narrower one to fit into that gap, and then I might use one of these narrowest ones because I have about that much room to fit these things in. Well, and that's the other problem. I made the part too thick to fit in there, but this was just a proof of concept. And let me show you the second prototype. So what I did was I figured I needed something to hold on to this handle. So I measured this about 25 millimeter diameter. And so I made a 25 millimeter diameter hook there. And that one fits up there pretty nice. And let me set the camera back down here. But the idea is I can just put that up there. You know, it's kind of tenuous. I haven't screwed that through. I haven't put the little screw through there to hold it. And if it's hanging up there, it's not going to fall off, because it would have to get a really up and down bouncing to shake it off. And usually the earthquakes are side to side rattling. So that'll help keep this safe. The other thing it does, by lifting it off my shelf, I can still put little things like small tools and stuff underneath there, and I don't lose my shelf space, because this was a really handy area to keep like extra garden hose nozzles and I had pencils and I could put a pruner. So yeah, I think what I need to do now is print myself a couple more of these hooks, and I'll show you how I designed this in Fusion 360. It was actually pretty easy.
Yeah, good afternoon, YouTube. So this is the hanger that I designed in Autodesk Fusion 360 for my Jumpstart battery. So I had the rear portion here. This is the portion that goes up underneath the beam in the shed. Here's the little slot and then the top portion, and I'll run a screw up through here to clamp all that together. And this is my redesigned version of the hook, and how I did that, I created a sketch here. The handle on the Jumpstart pack is approximately 25 millimeter diameter, about 1 inch. So I made a 25 millimeter diameter arc to form the inside of the hook. I'll have a screw right through here, so I had to leave a flat spot, and then I put this larger diameter arc with a slightly different center point. So this arc goes, I think it was 40 millimeter diameter. This one was 25, and that way I get a little bit thicker cross section in here for added strength. And then at the very outside, I don't need to support any weight. So I think that should make a pretty strong hook for what I need. And the one thing I found that's a little confusing, I used a center point arc function here. The description over here on the side says select the start point, center point, then select the end point or specify an angle. That's all fine and good, but the way the command actually works is you have to do the center point first and then the start point, and then in this case I just did 180 degree or a half circle. So the prompt up here says start, center, end, but it's really center, start, end. Just a little tip there, something I learned using Fusion. If you pick your start point here, it makes an arc centered about that, what you thought was the start point. What you do then is stop the sketch, and then we can zoom out here a little bit. And what I did was extrude, or did a press pull, and then I added some fillets. I put a little fillet in this slot to strengthen it a bit. I put a larger fillet around the outside there to make it look a little better and help with the strength. Yeah, so I put a fillet on this part. Then I went over here and did a 3D print, sent the file over to Cura, and then sent that on to the printer. And let's see, I think we're just about finishing up here. I've got 33 minutes remaining, and so what I did was the part in Fusion 360 I had sized to be 10 millimeters tall, and measuring in the shed, I think I can fit a 35 millimeter wide part. So I just did a non-uniform scaling, made this part 3.5 times taller, and you can see the infill there. I'm printing this with about 20% infill with a 3D infill pattern, so that should make this hook pretty darn strong. So I just wanted to show you how I designed that part and some of the tricks I learned there. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. First time I've done these arcs. 30 minutes for printing this one. I'll test fit that and then print one more, and then I can hang my battery pack up and not have to worry about it falling off the shelf in the shed.